Order, and I think it is 6:30 on the dot. And Madam City Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Thank you. John Harabedian, Mayor.
Here.
John Kaposha, Mayor Pro Tem.
Here.
Council members Rachel Arizmendi.
Here.
Denise Del Mar.
Here.
And Jean Goss.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stand for the pledge and the invocation, please. Place your right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the spirit of Easter, I'd like to read a Catholic Easter prayer. Lord, the resurrection of your Son has given us new life and renewed hope. Help us to live as new people in pursuit of the Christian ideal. Grant us wisdom to know what we must do, the will to want to do it, the courage to undertake it, the perseverance to continue to do it, and the strength to complete it. Thank you. Okay. Everyone had a chance to look at the agenda. Any changes?
Mr. Mayor, staff would like to pull consent calendar item 1E. Taking it off the agenda at this time, we'll return at a later date.
Okay. Anything else? Well, if there's no changes, motion to approve it?
So
Move to.
moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Oh, Jean,
Aye.
you did first.
And the minutes. Any changes?
None for me either.
I'm good too.
Move to approve the minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the mayor and city council reports. I think, would I start on my right or left last time? Okay. Councilmember Arizmendi, we'll start with you.
I'll just report out on a few activities. Wisteria Festival on March 15th. I thought it was a great turnout. It was very, very warm day. Nevertheless, we had a lot of folks from in town and out of town attend. We had our Water Day 2015 on the 21st. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend the panel, so maybe someone can report out on that. But we had some really informative booths that were part of the all-day session, and I understand Congresswoman Judy Chu came to say a few remarks and words, which is great to hear that she's supporting not just Sierra Madre, but a lot of the efforts in the region. And lastly, with Community Services Commission, we do have our Huck Finn Day that's coming up this weekend, and I know that the camp-out portion of it is sold out. So hopefully folks can come and observe and partake in those activities. And just lastly, with Community Services Commission, after our meeting a couple weeks ago, I know they're taking a lot of efforts to see how we can use some of those arts in public places and getting some ideas from the community and also from the commission as to how we can best utilize that money. Great.
Thank you. Councilmember Goss.
Yeah, the Wisteria Festival was fantastic again this year. I got to participate at the down in Kirsten Court with the city table with Madam City Manager and with Councilmember Arizmendi, and that was kind of fun. Saw a lot of people that we knew and was, I think, fairly useful. And then I along with all of my colleagues up here, attended the breakfast with Supervisor Antonovich on Wednesday, which was extremely informative. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Del Mar.
I would like to thank the mayor for a very nice State of the City presentation. I think that went very well, and we had a good attendance. I went to the Water Day. It was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of people out there. And also, Councilmember Arizmendi and myself were honored to be able to go to Senator Carol Liu's house to honors 5 outstanding women in our community. They were just outstanding, and so it was really nice to see, and from all walks of life, and it was really nice to see these powerful women, and it made me feel a lot inadequate when we left, just to be honest. But it was really nice. We had a great time.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, the only thing I want to report is on Water Day. I did not attend the presentations, but I did wander around a little bit, and I ran into Dr. Bill Patzert, who is a climate scientist at JPL. And he has an incredible track record as far as predicting what the rain situation is going to be. Well, he summed up the forecast using an expletive that I won't repeat here, but the situation does not look good going forward. I mean, I'm hoping he's wrong for once, but he hasn't been wrong since for the last 15 years he's been doing this. So just want to encourage everybody to continue to conserve water. We're going to discuss a little bit later on in the agenda our rebate for turf removal, but I do encourage you to hurry up and get your application in for turf removal because, I mean, I just don't see the situation getting any better.
I agree. I was going to pray for rain in the invocation, as we all have, but it's unspoken at this point. It's a constant prayer. I don't have anything to report other than what my colleagues have already said, so we will now open it up for public comment for items not on the agenda.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'll keep it short. This is about upcoming events at the library. We had a very busy February and a very busy March so far. April, we have just our usual events, but we do have something special coming up this Thursday at 4 o'clock. The winners of the essay writing contest will be awarded, and all the council members are invited to come if they can. There were over 100 entries from grades K through 8, and winners will be awarded in each of those grade levels. We also had a very successful One Book, One City series of events. I'd like to brag that we had a couple people say they hadn't been in the library for years. I think they may have come for the scotch, not. But we twisted their arm a little bit and said, you can read about scotch just as well as drink it, so we'll see if we can get them back. And lastly, our circulation is up, and this is a bit of an aberration for libraries in the area. Overall, it's up 4% over last year, and particularly gratifying, I think, to me and the rest of the trustees is that circulation of children's books is up almost 10%. And we think that that's a great investment that we're making in our community. And so I want to thank you for your continued support of the library.
Thank you. Any other comments for items not on the agenda?
Good evening. My name is Gary Hood. I live at 465 North Baldwin, and I just brought something for council.
Did you brew this yourself?
I did. It's fresh brew.
It's not moonshine.
Fresh brewed, huh? It's not scotch.
I just wanted to bring this to council. You could use it in any way you want. People moving into town, this is the kind of drinking water we have. I hope we're working on the problem. And I have filters on my house now, and I just wonder how many fewer birds there are singing and how many people have lost fish in the neighborhood. So I'm just sharing that, so thank you. Came from my home.
All right. Any other comments? All right. We'll go back to the agenda and Madam City Manager, the consent calendar minus 1E.
We have a quick presentation first, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
We
In
do.
fact, actually,
Excuse me. I always like to
regarding
skip.
water.
Director Inman.
Okay, just very quickly, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Yes, the new swimming hole down by the creek. Unfortunately, there is no creek. One of the speakers on Saturday morning in the presentation used the analogy of being up a creek without a paddle, and we're even worse than that. We're up a dry creek without a paddle these days. February, we conserved about 7.5% over the same period last year, so we were doing well. We saved over 3.5 million gallons, and our gallons per capita daily stood at 143. For March, however, water use has increased almost 3.8% over the same period last year. We've used 1.3 million gallons more than March of 2014. However, all is not lost. Our water consumption is still 24% less this year over the base year period of 2013. And our gallons per capita daily has gone up to 147. This is where we were in July. This is the published information that the state puts out on their website, just to show how we compare with other cities. And at the bottom, I note each month that when we started this process, we were at 316. This month we're at 147. And by the way, our 20 by 2020 goal was 260. So we've gotten well below that already, long before 2020. Just as a reminder, on March 17th, the Water Quality Control Board instituted additional emergency regulations, including no irrigation within 48 hours following a rainstorm. Water agencies such as Sierra Madre are required to report what our conservation enforcement activities have been over the prior month. And we're also required to notify water customers when we become aware of leaks within the customer's control. The legislation doesn't necessarily say how we're supposed to know that, but when we are aware of something being amiss, we are required to notify our customers. In terms of our well levels, I wish I could report something other than this, but our high was in January, and we have started to see the water levels begin to recede. We've gone down a little over 3 feet since January 12th. And that, of course, is primarily due to rainfall, the fact that we've had no water to spread to speak of. The county has been holding back water behind Santa Anita Dam to give us approximately 5 days worth of water for Huck Finn Day, and then that's probably going to be it for the year unless we get more rainfall. So at this point, our rainfall for the year is even less than last year. And that concludes my presentation unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Inman. Okay. The consent calendar, please.
On the consent calendar, we have items, all except for 1E, which staff has removed from the agenda this evening. So starting at 1A is adoption of Resolution 15-11 approving the city's demands. 1B is consideration of Resolution 15-06, which is the adoption of the city's statement of investment policy for fiscal year 14-15. 1C is a recommendation that the city's membership in the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership not be renewed this year. 1D is an extension of the exclusive negotiation agreement with Heritage Housing Partners. It's an extension to a current agreement, as you're aware, to allow some additional time to negotiate the development agreement, which should be coming back to the council in the next month or two. At 1F is a request from Verizon for authorization to submit a conditional use permit and variance application for Oak Meadow Road cellular site. At 1G is the recommended approval of the final track map 13-02 for 7 condominiums at 407 to 413 Mariposa Avenue. At H is second reading of ordinance number 1363, and it's a long title. Municipal Code Text Amendment 15-02, an amendment to Chapter 15-04, Section 15.04.15 to create a discretionary demolition permit process for certain demolitions and to revise the demolition permit requirements. Chapter 17.60 by adding a new section 17.60.056 and amending Chapter 17.82, Section 17.82090, to add additional requirements for the demolition of historic landmarks. It is a recommendation that the council waive further reading and adopt ordinance 1363. And then at I is authorizing staff to proceed with the RFP process to solicit bids for a library facility assessment. That concludes staff's presentation. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the demands, the warrants? How about the investment policy? I do too, yeah.
My basic question is, what has changed? Is there anything different about the current investment policy as presented than what we had last year?
It's reformatted to make it a little easier to follow. The only substantive change I will, let's see, I will find it. Number 4, commercial paper of prime quality. The $500 million amount there was revised by state law. This I should start off by saying exactly mirrors what state law allows us to invest in. And other than that minor change, there was nothing else that changed from your previous policy.
Okay. Now, the treasurer quarterly reports, I mean, we just received the first one, even though that was in our policy, we just never did them, or?
We didn't give them to the council, which is something that was overlooked, and they're coming to the council now. They were
Okay.
done, but they weren't put on your agenda.
Yeah.
So they will be put on your agenda. In fact, the city treasurer will be preparing those from this point forward.
Yeah, and I like the way you put it here, that it's going to be categorized with the percentages that,
Exactly.
for each of the investment types, so that we can see how that matches up with the policy. Okay,
And that was the format that was already, we used this format for the first report you received.
okay, good.
We'll continue that.
Why wasn't the city treasurer doing this beforehand?
I honestly don't know. I've been here since 2007, and the treasurer hasn't done it in that period of time. It predates me, the change. I was told, 3
this is
finance
new.
directors ago, they decided to do it themselves. So,
Okay.
That was my question as well. Thank you. Membership in the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership, any questions there? Extension of the, sorry.
Oh, just a quick
Yeah.
question. I see that it's in December that we should have renewed. So is it, it's a calendar year for the membership?
I'm not sure. Just a yes or no, Alyssa? No, it's fiscal year.
Fiscal? Okay. Oh,
Oh, it's neither. It's based off of when you originally joined, so it's a rolling year.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything on 1D, Highland Avenue?
No.
Nope. 1F? No. 1G?
I have a question.
Okay.
Do these 7 condos, they don't have water hookups? So they were approving the tract, but will they be able to build them?
I believe they're already under construction. I think they predated. Are these already under construction?
Yes, these these condos had their approvals and permits before the moratorium went into place.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Raymond. 1H? And 1I.
One eye. A couple questions on one eye.
Okay.
Let's see here. Hold on just a sec. Yeah, just on this one, the library assessment. It looks like we've had some various assessments or evaluations done in the past, like the Wildan overview, fall of 2013.
Mhm.
What was that?
The Wildan overview was done, there was money put in the budget that fiscal year to deal with some electrical issues and things. So Wildan went through the building to check to see what prioritized the electrical issues, was my
Yeah.
memory of it. I
Okay.
believe it was primarily electrical in nature, electricity and outlets, and
Okay.
making sure that the building could electrically handle the loads.
Yeah, that rings a bell now. Going back to 2002, we had an assessment of mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. I realize that was quite a while ago. Did we ever act on whatever that assessment?
That predates me? No. Director Inman is saying no.
We never acted, we just did the evaluation and just didn't have the budget, or? Okay, interesting.
Do you want to comment?
Director?
So the public can hear.
Good evening. The 2002 assessments were done as part of a library grant application. Preceded my time and Elaine's
Yeah.
time, but I just went back through and read the grant reports, and this was part of the process to, at the time, I guess they wanted to build a new library.
Mm-hmm, okay. Well, and the same with the field inspection report? I mean,
That's correct.
same thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was, one was plumbing, one was structural, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Then I see that Mr. Rodney Spears did a structural review for us last year.
Yes, he's part of the library facilities master plan. He's a
Uh-huh.
community member and a structural engineer, and he said, I'll do it.
Okay, well,
And
that's good.
He was a volunteer.
Well, is that, or do we using that in rolling that into the assessment that you're going to do? It seems like that's a significant part of it. Is that already done, or are we going to do it again?
He did an assessment of the structural walls in the basement of the building. And that report will be on the website. And it will be available to any of the contractors to assist them in preparing their proposal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the $15,000 is coming from the library gift and memorial account.
That's correct.
And how do we get money for that account? Where does the money come from?
The library gift and memorial account is a donation account.
Uh-huh,
And people donate to it in a variety of different ways.
okay. And we've got, even after this $15,000, we have almost $90,000 left in that
There's
account?
about $90,000 in that account right now.
Okay,
And
great.
this would be $15,000 towards the proposal.
Is $15,000 enough to do this assessment? It looks like a pretty in-depth assessment.
We're hopeful. I received some initial bids that are quite high.
Mm-hmm.
And the committee decided, well, if we ask for proposals that were submitted in the form of a letter, much like the Bud Long and the Wildan and some of these other assessments that have previously been done, it wouldn't be as expensive.
Okay.
So they thought $15,000. I initially asked for $10,000. The trustees said, let's try $15,000, not to exceed.
Okay, well, what if it does, again, it just, I mean, I don't really know a lot about it, but just looking at the scope of what you're asking for, I mean, I don't see how 15,000 is going to get you a really thorough evaluation. If it goes over, what are you going to do?
We can go back and ask the trustees if they want to allocate any more funds. I have talked with Elaine about this. We'll have to make another decision at that time.
Yeah, okay, well, the good news is that there's $90,000 that is volunteer money. It's not general fund money.
It is
so-
not general fund money.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions on 1I? And Director Thomas is here. Thank you. Okay. I will open this up, the entire agenda, consent calendar for public comment.
Good evening, Mayor Harabedian and council members. I'm Barry Gold of 441 Ramona Avenue. I wanted to speak about item H, demolition of historic landmarks. I remember in your previous discussions discussing houses built prior to 1940 as possibly being historic in nature, and under this ordinance, I believe that you would require a homeowner who wanted to tear down a house that's considered historic for them to get some sort of survey and demonstrate it's not. In reading the ordinance, again, I think I saw something new, kind of clever in there, that instead of saying houses built before 1940, you've said houses that are 75 years or older, which is clever because 2 years from now, a house built before 1942 will be subject to this ordinance, and a house built today will be subject to it in 2090. I'm not so sure that's a bad idea. I won't be here in 2090, so someone else will have to worry about that. But I thought it was clever using 75 years from whatever date they want to tear it down, a historic house, rather than just before 1940. Again, I'm saying I'm not sure that's a bad idea. I just wanted to make sure that you were all aware that it's a little different than you last discussed. Thank you.
That's what they directed us to do.
Thank you, Mr. Gould. Any other comments?
Hello again, Rob Stockley, East Laurel Avenue. Couple things. The assessment of the library that was done in 2002 was part, as Director Thomas said, a bond application. There was a program that the state had made available for new construction, and we were hopeful. Unfortunately, we didn't meet the demographic parameters that they'd set out. So the purpose of this process that we're looking at now is to rehabilitate the existing structure, and I don't want to cast aspersions on another mid-century creation, but when we get to that age of maturity, particularly public buildings, things need to be shored up and replaced, and quite frankly, the space itself needs to be assessed as far as its usage. Not that it isn't, we don't need the space, we do. We do need what's existing and perhaps some additional space. But to reconfigure it and make it more adaptable to current needs for the library is really what we're looking for, and so we're looking for support of this process. The last thing I wanted to mention specifically to Mayor Pro Tem's question, the members of the Facilities Master Plan Committee included people that are used to bidding on these sorts of things, and it was their expert opinion that we could get useful information in this price range. As the director said, we may be back to you, but we think that we can get something that's going to be useful for the trustees as well as for the council to make some future priority decisions.
Thank you.
Pat Alcorn, and I can't speak for the Friends of the Sierra Madre Library, but I would like to say that we are going to be discussing our budget in April. Our Finance Committee has been meeting the past 3 months, and we possibly might be able to put some monies into the budget that will cover any other aspects that we need to, anything over and above what we need to do. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the consent calendar? Okay, bring it back. Any further discussion before we vote?
I'd just like to respond to Mr. Gould's comments that,
Sure.
yes, we were very aware of the 75, and we did discuss it here as well, but, yeah, I just want to assure you that we all thought that was a good idea. Oh, we didn't all agree on
Came to
that.
a
Councilmember,
consensus.
Councilmember Goss
Okay,
We came to a consensus.
compromised.
yeah. Okay.
And any other comments?
I'd like just one comment about the library, having been on the board of trustees for a while. And I'm just going to attest to how important this is how urgent this is to get this assessment done, and hopefully we can get some good numbers out of it and start planning to get that library back up into the condition that we really all want it to be in, because it's in bad shape.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I I move to approve the consent calendar minus, which one was it?
1E.
1E, as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous. On to item number 2, status of turf replacement rebate program.
And I think I need to, Mayor, recuse myself yet again. I partook in this rebate program, so I will return upon the conclusion
Okay,
of the
we'll
discussion.
see in a little bit.
Thanks.
Director Inman has the staff presentation.
Good evening again, Mayor and council members. This is just an update on the status of the turf rebate program. As you'll recall, back in late November, you approved the program, which went into effect December 8th. We had some people lined up at the front door on December 8th. There was a great deal of interest in this. Just to go over some of the more important ground rules that the council approved at that time, they set the rebate amount at $1 per square foot. You limited the maximum rebate to $1,000 per property. Rebates would apply only to turf removed in front yards or visible from the street. Applications must have been submitted and approved by staff before turf was removed. And you set a time frame of 45 working days under which, or as a deadline by which the turf would have to be removed. As of the preparation of this report, we had received 56 applications. 43 of those had been approved for a total amount of $35,000 and 714. 3 of those approved applications expired, leaving that money unexpended. So what we have left in the program is about $15,300. The results of the program, we managed to get 32,715 square feet of turf removed. And depending on the type of replanting that these customers do, the city could save over as much as 175 to 305 billing units of water annually. So there are going to be some savings there. The other question that staff has at this point is if the council wants to make any modifications to the program, or if you want to continue it as is. Some of the things that came up in our discussion of this program with the customers, particularly with those customers who we had to deny applications to, was the program could be made retroactive at this point, or the program could be expanded to cover side or rear yards. Another option would be to expand the program to cover more than 1,000 square feet per applicant. These are all issues that came up during the administration of this program, questions that applicants had. Or a final option would be to cancel the program and use the remaining grant funds for other processes and projects. So with that, we just ask that council provide staff with direction as to the continuation of the project.
Thank you, Director Inman. Any questions for the director?
You had many people who have come forward who would like to have it retroactive?
There were, in my recollection, there were about a half a dozen that wanted it
6.
to apply to them.
And was it because they removed the turf right around the time that this happened, that we put it into
The
effect?
majority of them were people that had removed their turf months in advance or even years in advance, but there were a couple of them that had just removed the turf, and there's actually 1 or 2 that had removed the turf before we approved their application. They put in their application and promptly removed their turf before we had a chance to approve it. And under the rules that had been
Had to
approved,
deny it.
we couldn't approve the
Okay.
rebate for them.
What were the circumstances, I guess, for the other 7 that we denied? We denied 13 total?
Roughly, I didn't record that
Yeah,
number
it's
for this
fine.
presentation, but the majority of the circumstances were customers that had already taken it upon themselves to remove turf from their property. So this was really not going to, it didn't act as an incentive for them, it was simply a reward for having done so in advance.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can open this up for public comment.
I'm Linda Batterby. I'm at 501 East Highland. I have a double lot, and because of that, lawn in the front and back, I've never been able to meet my target conservation number. I researched, had checked the website, had hoped that Sierra Madre would offer something like this and never saw it. I was scheduled to have my turf taken out Tuesday the 8th, and our gardener had a spot open up on his schedule on Saturday, the day that you announced it in the paper. And I said, okay. And after the turf was removed, my neighbor texted me a picture of the article. So I'm one of those ones that it was the day, I mean, if he hadn't had a spot open it up, I would have been okay. So I just filled my paperwork out anyways, and I was the second person at the front door on Monday morning with pictures and receipts and the documents and turned it in. And I'm really hoping that you'll make this retroactive. It's a lot of money, and since December 7th, I've had just, my front yard's just dirt, and I'm sure my neighbors would love for me to get some drought-friendly plantings in there, but I couldn't wait any longer. I never could hit the target with the lawn that was on this home. So I hope you'll consider retroactively granting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I need Linda's last name.
Batterby,
Would you spell it, please?
Batterbee.
Thank you.
Hi, Barbara Lee. I'm one that's a little bit behind the 8 ball. I haven't gone in yet to pull an application. I didn't realize there was a closing out date. I thought it was earmarked for any type of conservation efforts that Sierra Madreans might be making. So I didn't know that there was a time limit on the money. Why not just let it stay, because the drought's getting worse and more people are going to be looking at different means to go ahead and not maybe use so much water. So otherwise, I need to hurry up and get in here tomorrow morning and pull an application. But there's quite a few out there, I think, that really haven't had a chance, or maybe educationally wise, in that little paper that goes around town, maybe they need to put a blurb in that says, you know, come on down to City Hall. Because like I said, I'm late in going in to get my application, but I think there's quite a few that will be looking to see what they can do. So, and I do hope you do retroactive for this woman, because that's what the money was marked for, conservation. So, I mean, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Barbara. Any other comments? Okay, let's bring it back. What do we think?
If we were to do it retroactively, what would be a possible cutoff line? I mean, that's a really slippery slope.
In terms of months or weeks, or
Yeah.
when the turf was actually removed and how can they prove it? Yeah, you know, I don't necessarily have a problem going retroactively, but I do agree that I don't want to get into a situation where folks who removed their lawn 2 years ago can seek the rebate, because I think that I think administratively it'd be kind of a nightmare. Retroactively is hard, not because I don't think that these people should be compensated for what they did. I just think it's going to be hard to prove when they did it. I think for the folks that still have the dirt's still there, and it's kind of obvious that they did it, maybe it's easier, but I agree that there should be some way for us to maybe cut off the date, or, I don't know, a month before we instituted it?
I was thinking 30 days, and also we need to stipulate that there needs to be some sort of proof that, you know,
Yeah.
they had someone come and remove the turf. Was there a picture beforehand that we can see?
Yeah.
So some sort of documentation as well. But yes, I would do 30 days.
I can support that too. It is a slippery slope. We impose all kinds of deadlines in city government. We have to be very careful about what message we're sending, but particularly in Mrs. Batterby's case, it seems pretty obvious that she's qualified if she's only missing this by a day.
Right.
So I don't think we're going to pick up a whole lot of people in 30 days, so I can support that.
What about a thought of maybe reducing the amount to something less than $1 for a retroactive? Is that,
I'd still be okay with $1, but, you know, I don't think this will pick up that many folks. I mean, I think that you'll, obviously Mrs. Batterby, but maybe we'll get, I'm hearing that we denied 5 or 6 folks based on the retroactive, so
But I can say that we've been contacted by many more than that.
in the 30-day period, you think?
I think everyone's, I don't mean to
Yeah.
sound flippant, everybody's gonna say it was 30 days before, and could even
So-
provide proof it was 30 days before. I mean, as long as, we're aware that we just spent, when the money's gone, it's gone, and whatever proof they provide, we accept. And
No,
it,
you're not going to accept any proof. You're going to
Well-
accept receipts from their gardener that it was actually taken away, or, that they did it, a picture before, a picture after, some sort of date. They have to be able to document the dates. They just can't come in here and say, I did it. I mean, there has to be some proof. There has to be a date, there has to be pictures, there needs to be some evidence that this took place within that 30 days.
So we don't really have a good idea of how many people we're talking about here, right? I mean,
No, but
it's possible then we could eat up all our
it's
remaining
possible the remaining could be
account.
gone pretty quickly.
Well, that's not good.
well, that's why, I'm throwing out there just maybe to reduce the amount, because just as Ms. Lee is saying, is that I think there's a lot of pent-up demand. I know my next-door neighbor just came, I think, yesterday or today to drop hers off, and I think once the fines and the penalties hit, I really think there's going to be, people are going to wake up, and we're going to run out of money. So,
And there was talk of getting another grant potentially from the water district to do, once we use these funds.
They haven't given us any definitive yet, amounts or
Yeah.
when, but they did say the district would include money in their budgets going forward for water conservation to come back, grants to come back to the cities.
the trouble is the district, I mean, their position is that turf removal
They don't
is
like
not
it,
the
yeah.
biggest
Right.
bang for the buck. The smart controllers are where you really save water in the toilets, of
The
course.
toilets, right?
So, and I wonder also, are people aware that they can get these smart controllers? There's a pretty hefty rebate for those right now. And I'm just wondering if people are even considering that as a way to reduce their water and lawn consumption.
Right.
I don't think, in given what I'm hearing, I think 30 days is probably too much. Going back, maybe, how about 15?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a shorter time frame either. I'm just wondering about the proof. I'm just, because to Councilmember Delmar's point, I think that we do need to demand proof. I'm just, anyone can walk in with a receipt, and that's what,
We probably don't need to reinvent the wheel. How do other cities handle this?
they don't do retroactive.
retroactive.
Yeah.
They just don't do
You
retroactive.
could ask your gardener for a receipt dated XYZ date, and they'll probably give it
Yeah,
to
they're
you.
gonna give
They
it
want to
to you.
keep being your gardener.
Sure, as long as
Yeah.
we have pictures
Yeah.
Is
before
there
and after.
anything, is there anything on their application? I mean, there's one thing that we can do is say retroactive only for those who have already applied.
We
So,
could limit to the ones
so-
who have already applied.
which
But I
would limit
I
that.
would caution you, we'll
Yeah.
hear from people who didn't apply because they knew they couldn't do it retroactively, so they walked away.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's
I mean,
a
it-
tough one.
Yeah, I mean, when the program was rolled out, I mean, in the material you sent out to people, it said that this does not apply retroactively.
Oh, we did say that.
Yeah.
We did say that.
Well, I would be okay with like even a 10-day, but I do want to have proof that, first of all, if they already got their application in, or that there is proof that they.
I was gonna say, for those who have the application, and I would assume on the application is gonna say, I removed my turf on X date. I mean, maybe not, but I assume that that's gonna be one of the line items in their applications, would have probably said something along the lines of, I removed it a week ago, or I removed it 10 days ago. And they could have been lying, but I think that, to me, that's why I kind of like cutting it off with folks who actually did submit the application, because there's going to be something in there that I think that speaks to when they removed it. But I agree. I mean, it's not necessarily fair to say, oh, well, because you submitted an application, you should be treated better than those who, read the rules and said, hey, this isn't retroactive, so I'm not going to apply. This is tough.
So we don't know if there are any other cases exactly like Mrs. Batterby's or not. There could be,
We don't know for sure.
because hers is right on the line, right?
Yeah, it's 2 days, right?
Right, so that seems like, but we don't have any idea to know the people who left,
Well, actually,
what they're gonna claim, right?
Mrs. Batterby, did you remove the turf after we decided it at council, or after it became in effect?
I removed it on,
Could you come up to the mic? Sorry, no, it's okay. Because, I mean, that to me might make a difference.
I removed it on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and the newspaper article, I guess, came out Saturday. My neighbor had texted it to me, and so then we came in Monday.
And what did the article say?
So we'd already instituted it.
It did say it wasn't retroactive.
No, but it said that the program was going to be started, or?
On Monday.
Yes, it was,
Okay.
yes. And so then I immediately went online and got the application and filled it out. And as far as dating in my circumstance, the person that I had remove the turf is not my gardener. I found him on Yelp, so I have all these texts that are recent texts saying, hey, do you do this? And, can you take it out? And I was just looking to see if he said, if the text is in here that said, oh, can we move it to Saturday? Because he was supposed to do it the following Tuesday.
So we implemented the program the Monday after you had it removed. That was the start of the accepting of applications.
Yes, but the article, I guess, came out
On
either
Saturday.
on Saturday. I have the text where my neighbor texted me the article, and I'm like, oh, I'm reading. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Well, we had already voted. In other words, we had already voted this program in when she,
Yeah. it's
right? So.
after the fact.
But, I mean,
So
okay,
that's-
I
that-
didn't go to the website that day, but I'd been going to the website. I was
Yeah.
naive enough to think that somehow we were part of the Metropolitan Water
Right,
District, and
right,
I
right.
filled their entire application out, and then they're like, you're not a part of our program. And I'm like, oh, no.
So this is what I think, John, Mr. Mayor, what you're asking is, when officially did the program start? We're kind of grasping for something there to say that, did it start when we voted
Yeah,
it
did it start when
in?
we voted it in? I mean, because if technically if it started when we voted it in, then
And Mrs.
Ms.
Batterby would
Batterby
be covered.
was covered.
Yeah.
Was this a legal question?
Director Inman can, because my memory is foggy,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the council gave a start date of that Monday, December X.
Right.
Or staff said it needs to start on this date, because that's what staff can get the applications correct, together. I do recall there being some mention of the start date being that Monday.
Well, thank you very much. To me, that this is sort of a clean way of handling. I mean, I think if anyone applied after we voted for it
So
on the
between
council,
November
yeah.
13th and
From the ti-
December,
From the time we
Yeah.
voted to approve it, if, in that case, I would say you
Yeah.
were, that'd be something that I think would work for me, because I'm just really
Just people
struggling.
who've applied. Just people who've applied.
I think we
Anybody
would
who
open it, yeah,
removed
anyone
it
who removed it after we
After
voted.
the date, we approved the program.
Okay. Okay.
So whenever that date was, so if somebody wanted to come forth and had solid proof that they
Yeah.
did it that same Saturday, then I'd say go ahead and give it to them also.
And I will give staff complete authority to make their determination on the proof. I mean, the one thing I don't want is us sitting as an appellate body for, for the folks who are going to try to do this retroactively. If you have proof, please show it. If staff doesn't think it's sufficient, they don't think it's sufficient. And I'm just gonna, I think this will be administratively difficult for the few that do come in, so I don't think that this is something that, that council really has time to deal with after tonight, so I'm okay with retroactive, with the parameters that the mayor pro tem laid out, and I do think the proof needs to needs to be a reasonable person test based on, you know, the director and deputy directors or whoever, who's administrating this on the
Director Inman?
Director Inman? So Director Inman is kind of the judge and jury, in my view, on this, so.
And he doesn't let a lot of things go by.
No, he doesn't.
Okay,
Is there any
then,
other thing? I mean, the one that struck me, and, yeah, I had always thought that, I wasn't necessarily opposed to backyard lawns, but I'm okay waiting if, you know, maybe we're gonna get some more, as, you know, a couple folks have said, maybe we're gonna get a lot more folks through the door applying now, and maybe there's no reason to make it as expansive now as possible, but.
I know, but you know, with the drought going on and on, we might want to consider the backyards at some
well,
point.
I'll
Yeah.
make an argument against why I think we shouldn't, is because I'd like to see as many front yards as possible converted to some form of native landscaping, because I think once you get a critical mass, then more and more people will view this as something attractive, and it's like, hey, that looks really nice, I want to do that, you know? So just for that reason, I really think we're going to use all this money, and we're going to use it pretty quickly. So why not just keep the program the way it is, and we expand it to more people that way and more yards that are visible?
Let's see what we do.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to change it right now.
Yeah, not right now.
I think we're
Play
gonna,
it by ear.
yeah, and there's gonna be some money going out the door with the retroactivity and with the new applications. We've heard some folks coming in right now, or the last few days, so I think with that minor change, I'm fine with as is.
And staff knows what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Did you need a formal motion or just direction on that?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
We it's, as long as there's consensus, we're fine.
And can we just let the woman know, so we're letting anybody between those, the November 13th and the December 8th who had their turf removed, if they could come in with documentation, then they would be able to apply for that money. Okay. So you're good.
Beautiful. Yep, I had a feeling. Thank you. Well, thanks for taking out your lawn. All right, item number 3, strategic plan, update.
James
Oh,
is
we
getting.
Oh, he's-
I was gonna say, that was right on the
Where's
dot. Was she
Mindy,
watching?
very
Getting
quickly.
that, the timeout.
Mhm.
You need to start behaving.
Okay, yes. Give us 1 second to get the PowerPoint up. I'll take the-
Oh, the dreaded
Is it
power.
working? The dreaded PowerPoint. It's just easier for folks to follow from home, I think. The current report, I'll skip you know what our 3-year goals, but briefly, those are our 3-year goals. Let's move forward, okay. Under maintaining and improving the infrastructure, we have a number of completes and on targets. We've completed the sidewalk master plan. We're on target for the completion of the street project, on target for you did it this evening, the physical assessment of the library building. We did revise the target date for the request for proposals for replacing our voicemail and telephone system to May, and we did revise the target also to May for the notice of completion for the Grandview Sewer Project. You might recall we delayed that project intentionally to deal with, I think, school and neighbor issues or something. Under maintain financial stability and sustainability, we have pushed out the target date for the allocating development impact fees to eligible projects. That project is unfortunately on hold because of the backlog in development in planning department. As soon as we've retained a new director, that new director is going to have quite a few projects to get caught up on. The comprehensive annual report is complete, and our draft current fiscal mid-year budget and the new budget for fiscal years 15, 16, and 16, 17 are on target, and the general fund operations portion of the budget is scheduled to come to you at your next council meeting. Under develop and retain quality staff, we're in the process of hiring the new planning and community preservation director and new finance director. Both of those are almost complete. We're very, very close. On the meeting, the mayor meeting with, and city manager meeting with department staffs. We have a new revised date of that of May 26. Under preserving our small town character with a vibrant downtown, the council has completed your review of the final chapters of the general plan update. We took to you at your last council meeting the communication plan for the community meetings. The first topic, as you're aware, the council selected is regarding the budget. So we'll be rolling out that community outreach project end of April and through the month of May. So that project's done. The amendments to the R1, our R1 standards are on target. That's scheduled. The public hearing for that is scheduled for your next council meeting. And then the final draft general plan EIR to the council for action has a new revised target date of July, the first meeting in July of 2015. And under making Sierra Madre an environmentally sustainable community, especially regarding water, we spoke about this one this evening. The turf removal program, we did get that program rolled out on time. It's considered done, even though we still have funds available for folks to apply for. Completing the update of our water conservation ordinance recommending changes to council, we've completed that. Under the objective of identifying long-term beneficial use of shared facilities to deliver San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District Water Sierra Madre, we revised that to May 30th. And then the last one was presenting to the council an action plan for improvement of the East Tunnel. That is scheduled for your next meeting, and that's on target. Report to the council on converting our disinfectant from chlorine to chloramine and allowing the blending of imported water. That is on your next agenda and very appropriate, given what you were delivered this evening. And that is scheduled for your next council meeting. And then lastly, the ordinances regarding stormwater capture, low-impact development, landscaping changes, does have a new target date of May 26. And that's it. We'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Question. How many departments have you guys gone to?
We've gone to 0 at this point.
Okay, all right. Just wondering. I thought you did go to the police.
No, we've gone to each department head, and
So you have gone to the department
we've
head?
gone to the department heads. Yeah.
That was your last strategic plan goal.
Yeah.
We completed that one.
So
This
now
is
you're
a
gonna
new
go to
one.
the staff.
The actual staff. I think the next mayor is going to be tackling that head on, but I'll probably, I'll probably start it. But everyone's been so busy, and trying to get department-wide meetings is tough too. But no, it's an important goal. So.
And also, can you explain the delay in the general plan?
The delay in the general plan was a result of just losing staff in development services. We lost our planner. We've brought in interim staff, but there's a learning curve bringing them on board. We were not able to get information back to the consultant so that the EIR could be completed. There are statutory deadlines, and I should have brought it. There's 30-day review periods, 45-day review periods that were required by law on an EIR to provide opportunities for input. And we had the R1 standards moved up in priorities. And we also, things like the demolition ordinance just set staff behind. We also had, as you're aware, about 20-something hillside development permits, which are very time-intensive, 20 applications coming in within a very short period of time for the proposed homes up at Stonegate. All those things have just resulted in the planning staff being overwhelmed.
One thing I have asked the Madam City Manager to do is to see if we can get some sort of timeline to project and also articulate some of the concerns or the delays that we've had, so that we have it not just also for us as City Council, but for staff and also for the public, so they can really see what this timeline looks like. And I know, Madam City Manager, you said that you've made it as tight as possible, considering these required timelines. So I'm sure we can see that probably within the next.
I can put the schedule, what the schedule is, so folks know when to look for things.
Right.
In my city manager's report this week on what the schedule is to get this done by July.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, these, I think a plus and a minus of a strategic plan is you sit in a room for a day, come up with great ideas hypothetically, and then life happens, and then we have all these really important things and issues that come on our plate, And then inevitably, and it's happened, I think, all 3 years that we've been on council, Mayor Pro Tem and I, things get pushed to the back, and then more pressing things get pushed to the front. But that's why, again, I think the strategic plan it's a double-edged sword. I think for the most part, it's a very helpful process, but I do think that sometimes, we kind of have artificial deadlines on some of these things, and they get pushed for important reasons. But I do think that folks need to, in terms of the public knowing about the delays, they're being delayed because we are usually dealing with quote-unquote emergencies or pressing issues that pop up, so.
Yet I think we can all agree that the general plan needs to get finished.
Well, yeah, no, and the general plan does.
And that needs to be a number one
General
priority.
plan does. And we are, I'd like to see on the 1.5 yard line here.
Yeah, and I have to say, there's 3 planners in the department. We lost 2 of them in the last 6 months. If we've only lost 1, we would be very close to this target. But losing 2 when you only have 3 is significant.
Well, could I ask something? Would it have been helpful to take the hit and hire extra part-time staff?
It's helpful, but it doesn't help because you still need to train them. When you have a brand-new planner at the counter, they don't know what our zoning rules are. You still need the 1 remaining staff person to train the new people, and there is quite a learning curve.
Yeah.
And the cities are all different. They have different zoning rules, there's different rules. So it's not something, like you fix a Honda, all Hondas are the same. Every city's very different. And we did bring in, as you're aware, additional part-time staff. We have a lot of additional part-time staff, but
Well,
they
now that
they
we've
still have a
got-
learning
Let me
curve.
ask this then. Now that we've got some part-time staff, maybe we should hang on to them now that they are somewhat functional while we're, even though we've hired a full-time planner and
We
we're
are-
about to hire a director, maybe
Right,
we should
we're-
keep those people on and take the
We're
hit
ahead of
for
you,
it.
we're definitely keeping the people on because the benefit of the ones we're keeping on is primarily to process those HMZ permits in Stonegate.
Yeah.
That is directly chargeable back to the applicant. So all of those staff, there's about 3 of them, they're all staying on.
Yeah.
They're going to complete those applications.
The other thing you didn't mention is that we've had public records requests, been inundated with that, and I think it should be mentioned,
Absolutely. Absolutely. How
Hundreds
many,
of hours
how many public records requests have we been dealing with over the last quarter, the last 3 months?
I
alone?
could say it's the equivalent of 2 full-time employees, full-time,
Yeah.
for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
The 3
it's-
part-timers, are we getting full recovery costs back on them?
The part-timers, the consultant part-time who are working on the HMZ permits, we're getting full cost recovery on them. The part-timers who are brought in to do general planning things, that part-timer's been let go because we do have a full-time who's in training now. That wasn't full cost recovery. The ones we're keeping are full cost recovery. Where our biggest burden is right now are those HMZ permits. There's deadlines that we have to respond to the applicant by. So we've retained those part-time, those contract staff.
So then the other staff will be working on the general plan.
This frees up,
Right.
this frees up Leticia to work on the general plan
Okay.
as much as possible, realizing she's also the manager of the department. And even though you have part-time staff to process these 19 permits, she reviews them all for consistency. And
Well,
she can't
yeah.
totally take her hands out of, her fingers out of it.
So this is what I'm trying to get at, though. Are we being absolutely realistic, knowing what we have on the plate of that department? And it just isn't comfortable to think ahead and maybe come back again and slip again.
No, I agree.
So this is what I'm just trying to get at. If this is our highest priority, and, I know we've got some budget problems looming, but we do have a little extra right now. Maybe we should just make sure that we've got resources dedicated to this, and let's get this wrapped up. We just keep saying we're right at, like you say, the 1.5 yard line.
Yeah.
And I just like to have those, that beefy offensive line so we can run
Push
that ball
over
right
the,
through.
yeah, no, I don't,
I
weren't
think
you
the
saying, though,
schedule,
that-
the schedule we have is doable. We've gone over it with a fine-tooth comb. Short of a natural disaster or somebody getting, injured where they can't come to work, there's no reason why we can't keep the schedule that we've provided.
And I
for you this
also,
evening.
I think everybody needs to know that that department really was hit with a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
staff was leaving, so I think they've done a tremendous job. I just, and I understand why this was pushed back, and it seems so long only because we have those statutory requirements we have to make, but I do really, we need to just keep focused on this.
Understand.
But hiring part-time staff, at this point, there's too much of a learning curve to make it worthwhile,
Correct.
so.
Okay, well, let's keep as many as we can while we've got them and, just try to get through this.
Yeah, agreed. We can open this up for public comment.
Hi, Barbara Lee. As long as it's been recorded that you don't expect anything besides a natural disaster to deter the July month then to be when the general plan is submitted to the state of California, is that correct? It's going to be completed?
That's when it comes to the city council for final approval.
Okay, then why was the department not given some help way back when, I think 6 months ago? Different departments received assistance, and the stress was put on the Department of Development is going to be needing assistance. We knew Danny was going elsewhere, and yet the assistance went to different departments. This is what Sierra Madre is about right now. The reason why we have a mess with the hillside is because the general plan was not in place. And it allowed the developers to come in as they are. It's been wonderful now to see some of the loopholes being closed at the Planning Commission site and quickly what's going through council. But I really, beyond July, I really question then what is the motives behind management to continue to delay the general plan. This is a people's document. I think the more educated Sierra Madreans are becoming, they understand how important it is to get this put into place. So, yeah, coming back in July, and then much longer the delay. If they need some assistance in the planning department, then pull the people out of management, whatever they're doing, despite the learning curve. I hear the money's coming in under the processing of the HMZ. Okay. Get the general plan done, bottom line. Okay, I'm gonna get off that soapbox. I missed whatever the library was presenting. This is going back to the strategic plan. I happened to be in the post office the other day, and I asked how soon the post office would be closing. Their lease is, gonna be coming up. And they said they don't know for sure, but they are starting to look for different locations here in Sierra Madre. So I thought, why not the library? They have that vacant lot. Used to be the duty man's house or whatever it was back there. That was torn down. They can put storage trucks back there for what they have in the basement. Why not rent the lower floor of the library out to the library? Might answer all the questions because they're going to be paying a good price to relocate and a good price for leasing on a month-to-month basis. Plus it has ample parking. It might assist the library with what they need to do in getting their upgrading done, and it will assist us in Sierra Madre having a viable post office available. So just a thought to ponder when you go off studying different things to do with the general plan and what's going to be changing down the road here in Sierra Madre some more. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll bring it back. And Barbara, to your point, I mean, I don't think that there was a concerted effort on, and management's us. I mean, this is the city council making these decisions. These are policy decisions where we're putting resources. There was never a concerted effort on anyone's part up here to delay the general plan. There's a few things that happened over a span of time. One of them was we reopened City Hall. Okay, we expanded the hours of City Hall. That meant reshifting folks from certain departments to make sure that we could do that. Every department, including planning, took a hit. We also lost Danny, as you know, but we did hire Ms. McIntosh, who's come in for the last few months, and helped us, and she's done a great job. Now, she hasn't necessarily been focused on the general plan, but that has freed up other resources so that we could focus on the general plan. I think the upshot of this is we have, for the last 2 to 3 years now, been trying to balance, getting work done in an efficient amount of time with balancing our budget, which is quickly and is going to get worse, decreasing in terms of revenue. So, I mean, I think that we're trying to do the best that we can. I think that folks should be angry that things aren't as good as they could be, because I think we're all frustrated too. We would love to have more money. Okay, we would love to have more staff. We would love to do things quicker. I mean, we're dealing with, you kind of play with the cards that you're dealt, right? So I think we're all doing the best that we can up here. And if the sentiment is things need to be quicker and things need to be done more comprehensively, show me the resources to do it. I mean, it's as simple as that. So.
And I would just like to add the part that staff needs to do for the general plan at this point is not a lot, but because of the statutory requirements, that's why it's all the way out until July. So, they just have to have time to be able to do get the information to the consultant, which I'm sure they can do. But we have put a lot of stress on them, and they've come up with a demolition report and moratorium, and they worked on the R1. So the length of time, although I don't like to see that July deadline, is needed so we can do the statutory requirements. And so I think the timeline that we came up with, and everybody up here has said, we just want to get that done, and that way the department never has to worry about it again for 30 years, and that will be off their plate.
I have a comment too. Just, we're already implementing the general plan regardless of whether it's finished or not. And the day that general plan gets approved doesn't mean that anything is going to happen differently here. We're aware of what we're trying to implement, and we're doing that in advance of that general plan getting done. So I'm with you that, yeah, we want to get it done, but we are not sitting on our laurels here waiting for that before we take any action. And even as you see, when we approved our part of the general plan, we made some modifications in it that are to help implement even the goal of the plan, and we've taken it a step further in backing off on some of the R3 and R2 property and things like that. So getting the general plan done in itself is not going to really change anything. What happens is what we do here to implement it. And again, as you've said, we've given direction to the Planning Commission to take a look at the R1 standards. We've got more work we've given them to do. And I think that's in the spirit of implementing that general plan the way it's written. So we're going to get it done.
I'll just add, not to reiterate, what the concern was definitely there, I think, when we received information as to what the push-out date was for July. It was of tremendous concern as to when the completion will be done. But I think what will be helpful, as I started off in the opening discussion, is to get that in the next city manager report to see what that timeline looks like, so folks can really see it and follow along with what those statutory requirements are with the 30 days and the 45 days, so that we can all hold each other accountable to it. And then also recognize if something does come up urgent, which God forbid that we have any some emergency that's going to happen, but we will understand as to why a date might be moved. But I think the July sounds like a very realistic date that we can stick to.
I'd just like to concur completely with the mayor's statement. I think we have done really quite a bit on all this, given the resources we've had, given the amount of staff problems we've had. I think we're doing really good. I think the frustration that some people feel about the general plan is that not with us, it's been something that's been going for 5 or 6 years. We just happen to be the focal point now. But I think if you look at what we've done, I think we've done a really good job, and given what we've got, and we have other issues. Let's face it, we have a budget issue coming up in about a month that I think is going to wash everything else out, and it's going to bear directly on development issues. It's going to bear on staff in that planning department. Let's not kid ourselves. We have a big budget decision to make. So Anyway, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments before we recess into closed session? Okay, well, that was receive and file. So we now have a closed session, and thank you everyone for coming. And we will be back out to close the meeting after closed session, right? Okay.
I don't know if there's any public comment regarding any items in the closed session before we recess, Mr. Mayor.
Any comments on the closed session items?
Is it necessary for me to stay? or
No,
can I go and you
I'll
can
send
just
you an
tell
email what time they adjourned.
me?
All right.
And what
And what the-
decisions the city attorney.
Thank you.